Hey Thinksters, and welcome to this video where I want to show you real quick how to create a list of random numbers in Python. So what is the most Pythonic way of accomplishing this? So first of all, you need to import the random module in Python. So then just start in the I just start with the first method. Okay, so say we want to create a random list. Let's call it rand list 1 because we will explore multiple methods and discuss the different methods. So the first method that comes to mind, and it's actually also my preferred way of doing it, is to use list comprehension. Okay, list comprehension starts with the square bracket notation. So you create a new list with a list comprehension statement. So therefore you have the opening and the closing square bracket. And then you have an expression and a context. Again, the expression is what? It creates a new element. So it tells Python, I want to have this element in my list. Okay, and how does it create the element? We just use the random function in Python. So this random function creates from the module random. So we have random.random. It seems a bit odd, but it's a way of go. So you import the random library and now you call the random function. It creates a random float number between 0 and 1. So in the interval 0 and 1. And now we have to define the context. So we simply go over all values from 0 to 10, for example. Yeah, so we have the range function that creates an iterable of values 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 included, so we have 10 values. We iterate this whole thing 10 times. And we use the throwaway underscore operator. We could also use the variable name I, for example, or X or anything, but we actually don't use it in our expression, so therefore we don't need it. Yeah, so we create those values independently at random using our random function. So two values are independent from each other. They are independent from the loop variable, so we don't need the loop variable. We can simply throw it away. And we use the and you can also see that list comprehension evaluates the expression each time it goes into it. This is a very important observation. So it does not create one random value and then repeats it 10 times, this random value. If you want to do this, basically you could use this method, so like random, and then you close the list and you multiply it with 10. Okay, so in this case your expression, your random function is executed only once, and then you have 10 times the same output. Okay, so let's print both results to see how they are different from each other. So you see, okay, we have a list of random values here and a list of random values here, but here all the values are the same. Yeah, so we have the 0.48 for all values because we simply have a list concatenation operation. So we concatenate the same list 10 times. And here we execute the random function 10 times, so we get 10 different values most likely. So they, of course, they can be the same, but this is then only by accident. Okay, so this is like the first method of creating a random list using list comprehension, and I like it most because it's concise. You don't have to know anything else apart from the random function. Of course, the random module has more powerful functionality, like the random.sample function, which you will learn later in the fourth method. But I mean, you have to then remember this function. You have to look it up if you don't know it. So actually, it's my preferred way. So of course, if it has a big advantage, then I will learn this new function. You should never stop learning. But if it doesn't provide a huge advantage, like in this case, you just want to create a list of random numbers, there's not that big of an advantage of learning the random.sample function. So then in this case, I would just prefer list comprehension. Okay, and if you want to create a list of random integers, then you can use a similar method. So we again use the random module. We call the randint function. So we want to have an integer. Now we can define the endpoints, the interval basically, within which we want to create the integer numbers, and say we want to create integer numbers up to 999 starting from 0, and now we use the same suffix like for underscore in range 10. So we again have our throwaway variable, and if you print the rand list 2, we actually get a list of integers. Okay, and all of those integers are smaller than 999 and they are positive. They are larger or equal than 0. Okay, so this is our second method of creating a list of random integers. So if you want to create a list of random floats, I would recommend that you use this list comprehension statement, which is, in my opinion, the most Pythonic way. It's not the most Pythonic way. The most Pythonic way would be to use the existing methods, like the random.sample method, which you will see in a moment. But it's powerful, it's simple, it's easy, it's efficient, readable. So this method is perfectly fine. And if you want to create a list of integer values, then use this list comprehension method with the randint function. Okay, so then just for the sake of completeness, the third method is, of course, to create a list, an initially empty list, and then you use the for loop. It's very similar to this comprehension statement, just less concise. And I would say this is the least Pythonic way of doing it. So you append a random element, like randint between 0 and 99, say, to the list. And now you can print the list. And you see you get some results, some random integer values between 0 and 99. So this, of course, is a valid way of doing it. And many non-Python coders who come from Java, from C++, they would prefer this method because they don't know about this comprehension. They are quite unsure, so they would just use a simple for loop. But I mean, the most Pythonic, so it's much more Pythonic to use list comprehension, of course. Okay, and then I would say the most Pythonic way, but also the way where you have to look up most, and it's not maybe the recommended in practice way of doing it. I mean, of course, if you are using statistics very often and you're a data scientist or so, then it may turn out to be beneficial for you to learn the sample method. In the sample method, you pass a universe of values. So like, for example, values between 0 and 19 included, given in this range object. And then you draw from this universe, and you draw n values. You give n can be 10, like in our example, it can be anything else, okay? And then you can print rand list 4. Let's get rid of the previous print statements so that we are not confused by them. And if you execute this, we get this result. Okay, so we have a list of values, and you see that there are no duplicates in this value. So what happens if you have, like, if we draw 10 values from a range of 10 values, then we will have all values in our list. So you can already see that there will be a problem if you try to draw 10 values from a range of 9 values. Then it will basically, so let's refresh the shell. So then Python will throw a value error. It tells us that the sample is larger than the population or is negative. So it doesn't actually allow for these duplicate values. And I think this is not, so this default behavior is not the expected one, at least for coders, because I mean, here in this case we draw just a random value. It can be the same one, of course. You would allow to have the same one if you define a universe. And here our universe is all values between 0 and 999, and here our universe is 9 values. So we would expect that it would just, the function goes through without throwing an error, but it throws an error because it doesn't allow duplicate random values. Okay, so this is just a random sample. Sample function is still the most Pythonic way. It's efficient. It's very broad, applicable. Of course, you can customize the behavior of the sample function, but you have to look it up. So, in my opinion, the list comprehension is equally concise, equally efficient. So, and you don't have to learn anything else in the random function, which you have to learn anyways, because you will need it in many scenarios. Okay, so I'm just in the process of writing a book, The Most Pythonic Way, with my friend and co-author Lucas, who manages the Thinkster Instagram account @codinglucas. You can check it out. If you want to start improving your Python skills, and check out our 2 books. First book is Coffee Break Python. It gives you a lot of practical Python puzzles to improve your skill level, to improve your rapid code understanding skills. So you will solve Python puzzles, and by solving the puzzles, you will become a better problem solver and a better coder overall. And we also have a book, Python One-Liner, that improves your skills of list comprehension and all these small one-liner tricks in Python. So these books I mean, these are not all our books. We also have other books like one of our newest book, the Coffee Break Python Workbook. It contains even more Python puzzles, but this is more for advanced coders. So if you have finished the first Coffee Break Python book, you can also get the Coffee Break Python Workbook. Okay, so thanks for listening to this video and see you in the next video. Bye.